Hi, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to make this video and actually be able to post it because I've made an equivalent of this video many times already, and I have not managed to post it just because there was bits and bobs of information. It wasn't very coherent, and I'm hoping that I can make it coherent because I'm finally at the place where I'm free from my toxic family and the drama that they have, and the harm and the psychological abuse I've experienced. Now, it's not to say that I'm not still on the process of transcendence from the abuse, and even the last bit of just, I feel like I can say I'm at the place where I have transcended, I have worked to distance myself and heal from the abuse. I've made peace with a sense of karma, that maybe the reason I have had those parents in this lifetime. I've done a New Age Jesus video, would not advocate the New Age, but as per Buddhism, which is actually a religion, it's a spiritual belief, which I'm not pushing. They do believe in past lives, and in this thing called Jainism, which is another religion, they believe in karma. And I've looked into whether some people believe that you have the same parents again and again in different lifetimes. The belief I've heard is that in terms of reincarnation, you don't have the same parents in consecutive lifetimes. You may have them again, but it will be like that you have lots and lots of different caregivers to the point where you're very watered down of the experience that you will have had with this current caregiver, to the point where your soul needs to be in a lifetime experience with them to gain that knowledge again. And I can kind of have compassion with my inner child now, to really be like, when I incarnated, I probably needed the information I now have about toxic and narcissistic people, so my soul could grow and evolve, actually. And that's okay, and I kind of know how to handle them now. I feel like me and God I've got this peace and distance between myself and those people, because they have moved back closer to the area where I live. Not like in the same area, but the same city, which they did live elsewhere, and it's been worrying me as to how I'm going to react to that. But I just have this peace of, I can cut them off cold turkey, and I feel like if they turn up at my house, I'll simply not answer the door or ask them to leave. I'm hoping they won't turn up to my address. They do know where I live. I don't live in fear of attack from them, physical attack or anything. I've got all the capacity to block them on the phone, and I don't have to have any contact with them, and I have got no contact, complete no contact before, and I will happily do that again. It's like, though, even recently I had a contact with them on the phone, because I do ring them on the phone sometimes. My mum in particular, every now and again, just because sometimes it's beneficial for me to have that connection with her over the phone, where I can control the conversation and I can hang up if she oversteps my mark. Because they won't, even if you set boundaries with narcissistic people, they won't necessarily adhere to them, but being on the phone to them, it does give you that control as to, if they are acting abusively, you can just hang up on them and then go months without talking to them. And I would only ring them if it benefit me, and it does sometimes, just to have a friendly catch up, because they're able to have that level of sort of tolerability with me over the phone. And I found, but they're very much of the mindset like, oh, it'll be nice for you to come over at Christmas. I haven't been to Christmas with them for about 4 years, because the 3 years I did go to them previous to that, I left crying in a taxi, and it cost me over £100 to get home, and that was how bad it was. I tried 3 years in a row. I was experiencing mental health issues, and I was sort of coerced. My boundaries were so weak, and I was just like, and I was like coerced into going, and I was like, okay, maybe it'll be better this time, and obviously you're promised it'll be better this time, and obviously it's not. And it was that bad. I paid £180 to get home 3 years in a row. So I was like, never again. And it's like, oh, I can't promise, you have to set these boundaries with them because they will do this safe porting, you know, and I'm very much of the mindset, like I'm basically in no contact with you apart from a brief phone call. When they come back to the area, there's a chance I may spend a little bit of time with my mother, but I know what she's like, and it's not like I'm like, oh, I know that, you know, the abuse cycle will continue, but she is naturally an abusive person. This is the thing that I'm coming to find now, which is that it's obviously not my fault, but it's not like the abuse will stop. If they are a narcissist, that's a personality disorder. That's how they are. That's how they always have been, and that's how they always will be. If I spend time with them, I will be at an exposure to their abuse. And it's not my fault, but that is inevitably what will happen. So I almost don't want to go to any physical altercations with them, but I do feel like if I pray to God, God will protect me from these experiences with her that are going to be unhealthy for me, because even though I've had mental health issues largely down to the treatment I've experienced from them, even when I was going through mental health issues that were so bad, I was shouted at and screamed at and abused, and why can't you just cooperate? You know what narcissists are like? They're intolerable and they're vitriolic, and then they blame you for not cooperating with their abuse, and it was horrendous what I experienced from them. And while I was going through health problems, really serious mental health issues because of the abuse I'd experienced with them, and it was all, you can't cooperate, you're too mentally ill to cooperate with the family. You can never be too mentally ill to cooperate with other people. It was just absolutely horrendous. I was so lucky to have the influences that I had at the time, beautiful people and boyfriends that were caring towards me when I was experiencing this extreme abuse. And I'll always be grateful for them for that. And I don't know what I would have done otherwise, and also really supportive, like mental health service actually. My support worker, my occupational therapist was so supportive and helped me find a sort of, I want to say like escape plan from living with them, because it was just so horrendous. And once I moved out, I really got, and they were all, oh, it's just, you know, natural family problems, sometimes people clash. They don't clash like that. They don't. It doesn't happen. You know, if you have a toxic family, you have a toxic family. And, you know, though I've gone through, it's like a thing of you can forgive, but you can't forget. You know, it would only happen again if I was to allow myself to have contact with them. My dad, to me, is truly intolerable. Like I don't even allow myself to have the memory of his face in my head. He's like a blank face if ever he flicks into my memory, because his very face, not only it infuriates me, it's like a bolt of lightning sort of shoots up my soul, and I want to stab him with a sharp object just because of the intolerance that I have experienced with him. And I know that God is not a father figure such as that. That is not father figure. You know, that's an abuser. And that's not how any person should be exposed to. But it was the only source of sort of protection and care that I had as a child. And as a child, you do naturally kind of scrape together any resources of your own that you have. You'll put up with abuse, you'll internalize abuse, you will go along with abuse so you can get your needs met, and so you can be fed, and so you can avoid abuse, and so you can get any sort of scrapings of emotional connection only that you can, which usually with narcissistic people will not involve emotional support, but it will involve coercion and basically supporting them. Get conditional love basically. So if you support them emotionally, which never child should ever do, you will then gain some sort of emotional connection, and that's usually an emotional abusive connection, but it's still a connection, and a child needs connection. So all that said, sounding like a bit of a trauma dump, but hopefully this is, should it be posted, and I hope it does, relevant to someone, but just as a bit of a light of hope, it has taken me quite a long time. I'm now 26, and I moved out at 18. Obviously they haven't been the sole focus of my life, but ever since COVID in particular, I was making distance from them after COVID, until COVID obviously. You know, for my whole life, I never really had a strong connection with them, obviously. I just had really bad coping mechanisms as a child because I couldn't function properly, because I wasn't built, my car wasn't built physiologically and psychologically and emotionally. But anyway, as I said, I got support for my mental health by a mental health service. I made a lot of distance with them as I sort of rebuilt my life, or built my life. And ever since lockdown, I've really been trying to do the work of healing from the abuse and really getting to the root. And now I feel like I'm finally at the place of like emotionally discharged all of the emotion. I've still got the memory and I can sort of know what happened should I choose to go on that, but there's no charge behind it. I'm not shackled to my emotional sort of, I can see the wound that it's caused me. I can see the scarring that, you know, that sort of light scarring that could be there. Obviously that can always, with new experience, that will not be as obvious. It's not obvious, but I feel like it will. I'll build on new experiences, and that will not be something that I will dwell on very often. But it's not healthy to forget completely. You always want to know the information as to not experience that in the future. And I have faith that should I reincarnate, which I do actually believe in reincarnation, that I will next time go to a much healthier family, hopefully. I'm sure there are worse families I could have gone to. Luckily I didn't get exposed to certain types of abuse that other people do in their family lives. I didn't get a particular amount of physical abuse. There was a bit of physical abuse. There wasn't a great amount of it. It was more psychological and emotional, and negligence, gross negligence, and obviously my health paid for it. At the end of the day, they were giving what they could with their personality disorder. It wasn't obviously an adequate parenting job, but I really just wanted to share that, like, there is light at the end of the tunnel. The healing ends, and you can really, that's when you can really be in your power and thrive to the point where you're not sort of dragged back by a negative experience, and you can really see it for what it is, learn all the skills to reparent yourself, connect with God, let God be your parents. It's more to connect like Earth Mother, Divine Mother, whatever, and really just build on yourself. And you sort of, I'm in this sort of era where it's like, I feel like from God, I'm living my childhood, or parts of my childhood that I missed out on because of the sort of delay that narcissists create within you. They do say that if you are abused and stuff, that it creates delays in your development. Because obviously your body and your mind and stuff is so sort of dead set towards, you know, being in survival mode. It doesn't really get a chance to develop healthily, actually. And I feel like I'm just reliving, my inner child is reliving my childhood almost, in adulthood is being relived, which is really kind of a nice thing. It's more really for me to look back on as a bit of a milestone if I post it, because I just feel very, very content at the moment with the fact that I'm not going to get sucked back into that abuse cycle. I won't let myself, because I have experienced it where I've cut narcissists off and they've come back into my life and re-abused. No level of love bombing is going to allow me to invite narcissists back into my life. And that's a definitive. And though they think they're going to suck me back into the narcissistic abuse cycle, I know me and God have a deal that they won't, but also I won't allow myself to, because it doesn't benefit me. and there's no way I'm putting myself through that emotional hell again, because as I heard on a really good video today about someone that distanced themselves from their narcissistic mother, apparently, you have a choice as an adult. As a child, you don't have a choice. You are literally living in survival mode. You're doing everything you can to get your needs met, just as any other person would. As an adult, you have a choice. If they're people you don't want to associate with, it doesn't matter whether you have a familial connection to them or not. In the past, I wouldn't consider them my family now. I've said that psychologically I wouldn't consider them as my family. I would consider my child as my family. I wouldn't consider them as my family. Because I don't think you should give a role, in my mind, to a parent, call someone parent when they didn't parent you. You would call them an abuser. I think the parenting I've had has come mainly from the mental health service and exposure I've had outside of their influence, so I wouldn't even call them parents. Actually, I don't think they did enough to merit that word. I think I was just an inconvenience to them a lot of the time, but they really just are very unstable, unhappy people. And I'm free from it. I've been free from it, but psychologically I'm completely free from the turmoil that it caused me at this point, and I feel like it's just a massive, honestly, if I think about it, milestone in my life, actually, where I experienced a lot of progress when I was healing from my mental health and really discovered who I was, actually, because I think I didn't really have much of a personality developed because I was just coping with so much trauma. But now I know who I am, and I know I'm just living life, basically. I don't have mental health issues. I have a bit of an ADHD issue, which I do need to get medicated for. But abusers do not have a place in my life anymore. And I know how to set boundaries, and I know that narcissists don't listen to boundaries, and if they do overstep your mark, and if you say, I don't want to see you every week, and they push for that, and they start turning up at your house, or they start ringing you, you can always go completely no contact with them, and that's quite happily what I would do. Because I know for a fact they won't go long periods being kind. The thing is that I've learned, especially around about narcissists, is that they'll be kind to the outside eye towards you, but on a one-to-one basis behind closed doors, they're vitriolic and they treat you like shit. So any sort of promises I'm given of, oh no, it'll be fine, don't worry, we'll go out, it'll be a nice time, I'll be nice, and this and that, it's usually for an external face. So when they gaslight you and abuse you during the time, they can say, what, we're having a nice time, you know, and that's just a massive gaslight, and that's not going to be happening. So yes, there is hope for anyone who needs to hear it. I don't know who will hear it. If this does go up, it will be seen by the people it's supposed to be seen by, and I hope it does go up because it is a really important message. It's kind of heavy. I'd love to talk more about my experiences, but I kind of have said the main aspects of them in this video. But yeah, thanks for listening. Cheers. And also just stay strong in this experience, because some people have negative parental experiences, some people have positive parental experiences. I do believe in other lives. Everyone has a positive parental experience. There's no reason why, if you're a healthy person, you can't be a healthy parent to people. I'm a living example of that. And that you can't recover fully from their abuse, and they are perpetually abusive to everyone, and it's not just you, and it's not your fault. And I've done a lot of videos on narcissism on my channel. And please seek someone to talk to if you can, in order to cope with these sorts of people, because trust me, no one in the world likes to deal with them. But when you're exposed to them and you have to live in the same house as them and live by their rules, I do believe that everyone is under divine protection, but let's just say they're no picnic for anyone, and I wouldn't want to be exposed to anyone like them. So yeah, thanks for listening.